You know, a couple of days ago, I brought you the story about, well, some people might say the rather shocking story of how one of our most beloved stars, the late and beautiful Diana Dawes, well, her career was sort of up in arms, all thanks to scandalous behaviour. Yes, swinging doors, telling her story to the news of the world, and then could she or could she not appear before our reigning monarch? This was, of course, all way back at the start of the swinging 60s. And it's funny, isn't it, when you think about it now with scandal, how it's all so watered down and very quickly forgotten. I put this down, I don't know about you, and let me know if you agree as ever, to the fact that it's always moving on so quickly. You know the sort of thing I mean. Suddenly we've got more tomorrow. So what was scandalous, say, for a week in a newspaper is now at best 10 minutes online because there's another scandal. It's a little like this one, of course, featuring the former well-known as Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. Let me explain. Morning, good to see you. Thank you so much for your time. We'll have a lovely wave. Are you all right? I'm not bad, thank you. Yes, it's raining. Yes, can you tell? It's just started. I know this is the thing, isn't it? We get gossiping, chatting, whatever. Suddenly, I know. Well, you know, all we need here really is you've got a cup of tea. Well, I wish I had. I know. This is the beauty of being outside, you know. The only downside, I mean, just on a serious moment now, the only downside of, you know, being out and about now is where do you go? You know, because all the benches are damp, aren't they? They're either plastic or metal, so you either take a cloth and wipe them down. Where do you go when it starts to rain? You know, because you can't get your flask out in a coffee shop, can you? Well, you would. Well, yeah, this is it. You're bold. I have to think, you know, it doesn't look good, does it? No. Well, no, you can't, can you? You could. Well, it's a little bit like this scandal, yes. You see, as we now know, this particular situation with Meghan Markle, well, it is a huge scandal, but like Harry, of course, with many other situations on the Africa parks, they just walk away and ignore it. Now, as you know, of old days, most people would have addressed the scandal and said, let me look into it, I'll do my best to fix it. Terribly sorry for all those offended. We're talking, of course, about the latest venture as an entrepreneur with Sesta handbags, right? And this was the one that, you know, she'd been plugging, well, surreptitiously for quite a few months. She'd very quietly invested some money. We're not quite sure whose money, her money, Harry's money, whatever. But the deal was that she'd invested some money. Moving forward, it then reveals, as I pointed out, that these people are paid very little to make these particular designer handbags. Now, here's where the problem lies. Meghan apparently is not coming out of the woodwork to discuss it at all because she feels that this will make it worse. This is the advice, allegedly, of her team. Now, I don't know about you, but if she'd come and head on and said, I didn't know anything about this, and she quite possibly didn't because she's probably not done any due diligence or any real sort of look into it, it's the people around her. But she should have looked into it given her track record of disasters following her around. But now, apparently, according to that source, Meghan believes that it'll all be resolved, washed over, and by the new year, people will have simply moved on. But it doesn't really work like that, does it? Because the brand, as I told you, the people behind the bag brand really need some direction. You know, they needed some sort of support. But if you remember when there was a furor over the Clever Coffee stuff and whether it had certain things in it or not, remember, allegedly? Well, she kept quiet then. And a few months down the line, made that wacky video of her being like an office junior. Meghan seems to think by deflection of humour will be enough to say that this shows her support. According to the source, she plans to do something very similar once all of this Sesta bags debacle has actually been resolved. But will that stop sales, or will people simply forget and move on? Meghan certainly thinks so. Will you? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.